Alrighty,
You
so
recording?
yep,
Happy Monday.
happy Monday,
That's our
yay.
cultural reference. You,
Um,
you get the cultural reference.
no, I don't. It sounds like something Scottish.
No,
Um,
it's not. Actually, something American. I don't like Mondays.
who
It doesn't
does?
matter. It doesn't matter. But it is fun day. That fun day is the Monday.
Did you see the link that I sent you?
I have been looking at it for the last 20 minutes or so,
Looking
popping
at it,
in and
like
out.
doing anything with it, or what? You
No,
just like looking at
just
the thing.
exploring around. It looked
Okay,
like a vanilla link. I couldn't see anything specific for
okay.
us.
So, well, okay, fair enough. What is good about that is that it is ours, and that is running. This is the back end of it.
I missed that point because it looked like their own kind of. Because I was
I
looking
know.
around and it's like, do you want to write an academic paper? Do you want to make a
I know, I
recipe?
know, I know, I know. But this is ours now. Like this is running on our infrastructure. I've been through all the code, and what I'm hoping, and this is the only thing worse than a demo, is hoping that something worked when it maybe didn't. Um, is that what I got was a tap on the database. So, um, where? If you were a database call, where would you be amongst all these calls?
Don't
Whoopsie.
worry about it. Yeah, there's no pressure of the queue or anything here. Um,
Probably this one. So, basically, what I've been doing is I analyzed the structure of the application, and I found that um, whilst LibreChat was very tidy code, it was not architected well. This code is sort of a little bit messy, but it is architected very well.
right.
Um, and by a little bit messy, I mean it's like it got a mixture of English and Chinese comments throughout it. Um,
Yeah, but messy is like just fodder for AIs.
Not
Or
necessarily because it's it's the kind of messy that's like signs of a struggle, like multiple database migrations, half finished notes, uh, little odd warnings in Chinese. Like it's sort of not.
kind of semantic kind of weirdness, maybe.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, but look, I think it's really bloody good actually. This library, and so I realized that all the calls that it makes actually ultimately go through this one database object, which is wild. Um, and the thing I wanted to talk to you about was I found I found a way that artifact can be used to mimic SQL, um, and I think that's too low level to intercept this application. But look, what I'm struggling with is where is the most efficient way to do the amount of work that we need, and what's the trade off for it. And I wanted to tonight run through a number of scenarios with you, some of which may smell bad and some of which may not, because I think we got to stay focused on what the end goal is.
Yep.
So can I just give you a bit of background on how the actual structure of the app works at the moment?
Yeah, background's always useful.
Yeah. Okay. So Vercel, uh, not my favorite of companies because they tangle you up so badly, but their stuff is well polished, right? So um when I look at say analytics, where the fluff am I? Am I in the right bloody? Where am I? Are you? Did you not go to that link
I did twice. Well, actually,
twice?
by twice. One on Firefox, one on Chrome.
Oh, you were.
And I've been hunting and pecking, poking around. So, but
Okay, so
I
you've been
wasn't
there.
messing with anything. I didn't stick
Um,
any clogs into the machine.
well, that maybe that'll just take a little second to populate. Anyway, I would have thought there'd be more in there. Whatever.
I'm in
Um,
now. Actually.
so I mean, they do give like good analytics, like what location were people coming in at, and all sorts of stuff like that. So, um, Christ Almighty, this is so annoying. Um, how it's set up at the moment is, did you log in?
I did on Firefox and did just the straight thing. It presentably something. Didn't ask
Mm,
for a challenge and was like, yep. And then I went to Chrome to make it easier to log in and used my Google account to log in.
yep. Okay, and that worked fine, right?
Yeah, I went straight through.
Yeah, okay. So what that is there's a, and you saw the option to log in with MetaMask and Coinbase and OKX and all that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was
yeah,
quite a, it was quite a
yeah. So basically, you
big
can
burger.
get we can get you logged in, and then we can get your Ethereum wallet address, and then we can figure out what NFTs you got and what balance you got, and help you make spending choices and things like that. So
I couldn't find anything when I was hunting around the UI. I couldn't find anything where it was asking me for money, which was a
nah,
bit
not
odd.
yet. Yeah, well, I haven't put that in yet. So
All right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, so we have to
Yeah,
put that in. Um,
yeah, because you always get tapped up for money at some point pretty soon.
we're gonna be tapping people for money. Um, God damn it! I'm so mad. Um, okay, in the background, there's a SQL database that runs and is used to store all the chats, the user config, and all that. It carries with it the traditional ills of a central database where one of the tables is set aside to manage the users. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, this database allows multiple users, but everyone's in the same table. Like in the messages table is every damn message that anyone ever sent, just separated by user ID, the one who owns it.
Yeah.
Um, so there's also an S3 bucket configuration that's used to store files because there is a files option here where you can browse files, you can upload files. Hopefully, this is not too revealing of stuff that's in my computer.
Yeah, yeah.
ChatGPT
I
image.
poke around that as well.
So that's all.
I wasn't clear about what create new knowledge base was.
Well, a knowledge base is what it uses for RAG. So it'll chunk it and it will use it as an embedding that it will run a RAG step on before it replies to your chat.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Personally, I hate RAG. I think that the whole context should be added, but maybe that's just me.
Will eventually be.
So the SQL database sits there. It's got every single user. Obviously, that's a bit anti our ethos because we want one database per user. I can tap the database very effectively in this one file, surprisingly, named db.ts. And it all see what I mean? Like it's got multilingual comments, my favorite. I gotta say though, LLMs are very good at helping with all that. Every single call comes through here, this one spot. Every single database call. So what I was looking for in the logs there was I just started logging it out. Because what I planned to do, which seemed like the lightest touch, quickest moving thing, was that I learned that I can replicate SQL inside of Artifact using folders and files and some configuration files like schema. So I'd use a folder to represent a table. It would have a special file in there that represented the schema. And then the primary key would be the file name. And then the rest of the data in there would just be part of a JSON object.
That makes sense.
The
files would have presumably some kind of coherent format between them, because otherwise
it's be schema based. So because just for a little bit of background, I won't bore you too much with it, but for example, in this models folder is where they define all the database schemas for everything. And so what you can get, for example, is like this is how, because it uses an ORM, an object relational mapping library called Drizzle, it comes out looking very good in terms of programmability. So it's like this.db.select, and then you're like file type, blah, 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 .from, .left join, .where. And so you end up with this, by the time it makes it to that pinch point that I showed you, it's coming in as a JSON object effectively that details what the SQL query is going to be. So it's not SQL at that point. It's
the logic behind it.
It's like a domain specific language that's very easy to use it. Like, remember how I was talking about using JSON schema as the way that naps accept their actions?
Yeah.
At that pinch point, it comes in, and these queries and these inserts are in schema-able form. So I can take a JSON object and I can run it through the schema that the database ORM has produced just before it translates it into SQL and sends it to the real database.
So JSON is a lingua franca between the two, I guess.
It is, and what I realized was that if you were programming, making a system like this, particularly if you programmed it in JavaScript, like this one is, then actually it's a complication for you to turn it into database language. In fact, you want to keep it as natural JSON, which is what Artifact is very good at. And so tapping it right just before it turns into a SQL string and runs off to like something written in C to process and use and all that is very, very fluent from the programming point of view because it's still in JavaScript objects at that point. And so my big plan to get things moving fast was to run our system, if you just hold your nose a minute, run our system on the SQL database tap it like a T, so that every time there's a write to the SQL database, it writes to Artifact, and then in the front end, when you want to say include a chat, I pull it in from Artifact as context, so that I can bring Artifact online slowly, gradually. You can have a usable system, and Artifact is tapping all the database rights. I might fuck some things up. There might be some bugs, but you don't have to wait for me to sort all that out before the platform becomes usable. It's just that the downside is that for the interim, we're running on a SQL database.
Okay, but easily migratable. Because if you go with the JSON as kind of encapsulated anything really, but in this case SQL query,
Yeah.
then it should be relatively simple to actually swap out in due course that SQL database.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, is that eventually once it gets good enough, we can swap it out completely. But the reasons for my wanting to keep it as SQL for now was, number one, we have this new problem in that we have to keep pace with the upstream project. And if we have changed nothing except a tap at one function call for their database, then we don't have to fuss around with very much at all. And each time there's a new change, we almost don't care. Like, it's so reliable to keep pace. So that was reason number one. Reason number two was that by only tapping the rights, I can avoid having to do complicated things like provide queries back. Like, there's like left join, left inner join. There's all these different joins that get used. And so what I did was I got Grok to go through and sort of appraise all these operations. But did that even work? What's my thing? Well, that was weird. So yeah, I got it to go through using a concat and then figure out everything that got used, so I know the subset of all possible commands that they are using there. So they seem pretty straightforward, except for this one, cosine distance, which is, I mean, I can do it, but
it's a vector database.
Yeah, that's a vector call, which I can do it. I just don't want to because I hate RAG. But something else that Artifact is very good is transactions. So transactions are a little bit tricky with SQL, but with Artifact, it's pretty simple. In fact, it's harder to not do a transaction than to do one because of Git. So what's not in here, which is the sort of the complicated bit, is migrations. So each time the developers change the layout of the database, they publish a migration that is auto-generated, but it takes you from one version to the next. I would have to implement that in Artifact as well. None of these things are that hard, I don't think, after poking at them, but the issue is they take time and they introduce bugs and aggravation and things like that. So I got some ugly ideas to run past you just to really get a sense of what features you really care about the most and how much it matters how they get delivered.
Okay.
So here is the chat. I don't know why it's not showing that image. That's quite rude, actually. It should show it. Whatever. So we're in a chat. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't worry. I was just going to say something mildly funny, and then my inner committee decided, no, that's not actually that funny. So
the congruence of agents was like, nah, mate.
Exactly.
Right now, if I just freshly deployed this, so just let me. There might be the odd, the odd little quirk that needs to be fixed or whatever. Okay, so the providers, I've got OpenAI. I need the responses API so that I can get. Is that going to show me the whole? No, good, great, fine. All right, so that's a server-side key. I come back to the chat. I then say that I want O4 Mini, and I say, write me a doc in an artifact about joblessness. And now I should get thinking, I think. Yeah, okay, great. All right, so it's working. Now, having this all showing up and being all nice and pretty and giving us token counting and, organizing chats down the side and all that is all good. All right, it hasn't done my artifact at all, whatever. Your primary issue is the paperclip. You want to add files to the chat.
I want to add files and I want to save files, yeah.
And you want to write to files, right?
Yeah.
Do you need Git for that?
Git has, ideally, yes, but
ideally,
no,
right?
Okay, speaking, any kind of folder structure would work.
But yeah, right, ideally, because Git would give you point-in-time historical context.
Yeah, and rollback. Yeah.
Changed over time, rollback, blame, as in who changed, and backups to GitHub.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I know why that didn't work. I didn't actually click the button for the thing to be there. Absolutely my bad.
No worries.
Let me just delete and regenerate. Okay, so including files, writing files,
that would basically eliminate the cut and paste thing. The additional parts on GitHub is really useful if you go down a rabbit hole.
Right, but again, not essential. But let's just say that that's sort of something we decide we have to have. My understanding of our primary goal is to enable the ambient attribution agent to operate.
Yeah.
Reading files and writing files feels like it's essential to the ambient attribution agent.
Mm-hmm.
The ugly part that I would like to suggest to you is that we could run an agentic system using just a database.
Mm-hmm.
What would be bad about that? So, for example, right now we have here this hub is really it's a single user app. So I would insert in here the ability to connect with other people and have chats that have more than one person. All of the elements required to do that are present in the backend structure and in the UI in the front, which I continue to be amazed at, that someone could make something so beautiful that handled so much complication. It did not come without its price. Like, it takes 10 minutes to build the freaking thing, which is heavy. I have to change my development computer because it can't actually handle the build step or the development step required to present to me a working version. That's by the by. It's beautiful. I think there's no feature in here that I don't see that isn't one of the core features that we want to make happen that isn't sort of generally available. So my messy kind of question to you is, like, I could make the database consuming version be so that you and I, as humans in the system, are really we're just in the database table in SQL, and then when we make an agent, it's just another agent in the database. And then we start experimenting with agentic interactions and things like that, just using a SQL database.
Can't see any major problem with that. What information are we losing by doing that? If
we will not have any hope of being data sovereign under that model, and we will not be edge. However, it has occurred to me during this exercise that I am confident that with this design, the way that they have made it, because of that tap that I can tap on the database, I can make it be artifact with a deterministic path. Like I know that I can do it, whereas if it was more complicated and the database calls were more sprinkled about the place, then I would be like, that I could maybe do it, but it would be messy or convoluted. And we got to keep in mind here that we got a new constraint. The new constraint is stay compatible with upstream, because otherwise upstream will add more features and we'll be now having more work or something like that. So a nice light insertion point is great. So because of that, it makes me feel less queasy about that. One of the reasons why I was keen to start on the blockchain from the get-go is that to be on not a blockchain and then switch to a blockchain is, forget it. Like, don't even, it's not worth the thinking. But to be on a blockchain and build your features up one at a time, like, that was working. I've made that work through many design iterations of different blockchain designs, and it's a guaranteed way. It's just the issue is that sometimes a baby step can take a month. But if you were coming back the other way, you'd never, I don't think you'd ever make it. You'd just never bother to put in how much effort it would take to take a full-blown app and go backwards. But that concern of mine is vanished now, that I can see, so long as you don't do anything too fancy in SQL, because, man, you can do some wild stuff in SQL. So long as you don't use advanced features, I can convert between Artifact and SQL pretty easily.
Okay, and then once in Artifact, thinking about attribution, and the recording of contribution. Then, once downstream after that conversion, we're back to where we are.
Ah, buddy, good point. Because the get is required to do historical attribution. If we don't have get, then we don't have clear history, and we don't have irrefutability. But I think irrefutability is a different concern. So I'm just trying to pull out these concerns and put them separately, because not everyone cares about them straight away. And I think that above all, our strategy this whole time has largely been get the end features up as soon as we can so that we can play with them and experiment with them to see how they should be, and then bake it down in blockchain. Because once you make a blockchain, you can't unmake it. It's very hard to change. Maybe I was mistaken to try and incrementally build up towards the features using a prototype blockchain. Now that I know that I can actually come backwards at great pace, provided certain conditions are met, I can actually jump down, which is huge in terms of speed. But it generally the strategy we have, and I still, correct me if I'm wrong with it, but it feels like the features we want are quite advanced. We need to play with them to see how they should be. We're still not 100% sure that the way we've modeled agents is even right. The quicker, cheaper, lighter that we can poke at them, the better informed we'll be, and we wouldn't have wasted time building a heavy version of something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
God, it does pain me to use SQL, but...
Well, you're kind of abstracting SQL because of that translation step.
Yeah. Yeah. So that only applies to chats, though, because what I can do is I can replace this files part with, like I can take that files part there and I can put the repos here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it just treats repos as independent, because what I realized was that there's this reflexivity, I think it's called reflexivity, the property where a system can be self-aware, or not self-aware, but it knows how it can reflect upon itself. Like in here, adding your own chats in as context to the chats, it's like, no, like it's not an easy do, right? And then even harder, you're like, how about if I want to add my settings, like if I want to add all the data that this form represents, and I want to add that as context into a chat, how do I do that? Like it doesn't reflect well, but the Git model does reflect well. What the fuck am I saying? That even though you could build that reflexivity in there in SQL, without Git standardizes it for anything. And so if you made your user profile be Git, then if you can reflect if you can put any repo into context, then you can just grab your settings repo and put that into context too. But if it's SQL, you need to pick at it a piece at a time, and each little gathering of things needs to be custom, because the SQL is custom. So what are you going to do? It's freely expressive. You don't have a unit. Git gives you that unit that you can grab a hold of and put it in the context.
Yeah. And that's quite an important distinction, because nobody in their right mind would ever say, wake up one morning, my inbox I'm losing track of this. How about I start to save it into a SQL database? It's like, no. How about I save it into a folder structure?
Yeah.
There's a massive difference between them.
Yeah. Now I could see a way that you could offer a translation tool that can take a SQL database and like convert the rows into a JSON object and then put that into context too. But it's all just sort of like having one primitive, the Git repo, is very, very relaxing because you're like, if I can handle Git repos, I can handle anything. Now I'm like, I can handle that repo, that repo, that repo. I don't know what happened to that repo. Someone used something fancy. Sorry, that database I meant. Like when it's Git, it's very simple. When it's SQL, not so.
Yeah, exactly. And also not easy to particularly roll back. Not easily translatable into how people think about it because
No.
on SQL
Yeah,
you
that's a
need to
good point. Yeah,
characterize.
not easily translatable into how people think about it. True.
Yeah. Um, People get
Not.
files, we get folders.
Yeah, yeah, not easily addable as context, and then like call it a a sort of like one of those weird tests that proves something. Being able to be in this system and chat about the settings in the system, like saying, "Hey, can you change my text to speech provider to be a different model? So not TTS1, but instead I want 4.0 mini TTS, please." Like
Hmm.
that kind of question is, that's what the Git context makes it easy to do, because you can talk about everything about yourself as the previous commit, and so it makes it easy to grab the latest version of you and talk about it now in the present version of you, which has moved on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I liked. Um, okay, so what you called out there was contribution requires Git for history.
Yep.
So the ambient attribution agent must take into account the past, and if it's stored in a database, then that is not easily accessible. That's a great point. You also said that the irrefutability of the data is a high. It's even though that's a high level concern, that's not an immediate concern. Like irrefutability, I think, is something that people expect to be there, but if it's not there at first, it might take a while for people to notice that it's not there.
Hmm.
Like it doesn't really trust doesn't really mess with the functionality of the system until the trust is eroded.
Yes. And you could say that it alters what claims you can make for the system.
Mm-hmm. It sort of adds you into each claim. You're like, this is completely legit so long as that guy didn't mess with it.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so uh, I don't feel like I'm getting my point across, which is my fault. But if I may keep trying, hopefully it becomes apparent. Um, it just feels like we can, in the designs that you and I have spoken about, we've largely looked at a user interface and poked and said, well, we could put this bit here, we could put an agent here, we could put group chat here, context here, your files go here, your chats go here. And we laid out a sort of a UI where we felt like the ambient attribution agent could be interacted with,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so I'm saying that this UI feels like it can be laid out in that way, but under the hood, it might be faster to do it as SQL, but it can still be, I think it still has to be represented as a Git repo for its files and stuff like that. But um, like I just don't think I need to make this system run on Git right now for us to test agents if I can make the files run on Git and then work at tapping the database to get the chats into Git. Are you still there?
No, thinking.
Okay.
That should hold. Actually, we're using in that instance Git as the canonical reference of stuff what's happened through time, as well as the current state, as well as the folder structure and file structure. So it is the deep memory store, effectively. What is stored in the SQL database that could collide with Git? How do you get the two to agree?
Sorry, why would they collide?
Say if a write to Git
Yep.
failed for whatever reason,
Right.
but the SQL database had been updated.
Oh, that would be up to my retry logic to make sure that that worked.
Okay. So
And I think if they fault, like, this is a temporary measure I'm proposing. So if they fault, it's sort of, we're like, oh, well, whatever. But, like, we want to get off, I think, and I'm open to debate on it. I think we want to get off of SQL to run this system and get into one repo per user and then a bunch of child repos for projects and other things like that.
yeah, very much so.
Right? Why do you think that?
Why do you think that it's important to get onto the repo?
Why is it important to get off of SQL?
Because it seems that I don't know what stored inside of SQL.
So in here, SQL stores the like the token usage, the messages themselves, the assistants. Like if I make changes to the assistants, like altering its prompt. That's all stored in SQL.
Okay, so let's take a prompt of an agent. An agent previously would have its own repo.
An agent previously would have its own repo, correct.
And now we've got two stores of that information. One is on SQL and one is in a repo.
Right, where the repo is meant to be an exact copy. It's a follower. It's supposed to be an exact clone of what's in the SQL.
Right.
But separated out to be an independent entity.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But there's no separation into, well, there could well be inside of the SQL database.
The separation is the classic SQL thing where they have like a whopping great table and they separate it by IDs. But can I deviate?
Yeah.
I think that what LobHub has is actually pretty awesome, but it feels like they're missing some tricks where their database system won't let them proceed on. If you put everything in a SQL database, then if people ask for a copy of their data, you can't give them a working SQL database per se. You can, without a little bit of fiddling around, you can give them, an extraction of their data. It felt like what the best way you could run LobHub is like how we want to run it is that we'll have a cloud offering. It's the turn up, enter your credit card, don't fuss around, you don't need to know shit, you just get going. If you want to copy your data, you pull it down using Git. But the key thing we want to enable is that if you want to host it yourself, you can pull it down, host it, and then if you want to come back, you can push it back. Or you can run it in both places using consensus. The consensus part doesn't really matter. What's important is the fact that we want to make the data portable so that you could be hosted with us, you could be hosted with your company, you could be hosted at home, you could be hosted anywhere. The way that Lobhub is right now, because it runs Postgres under the hood, the databases are not movable like that. Like you think about Git, how the developers use it, they're moving the whole damn database, pushing, pulling, shoving, like the database is mobile in Git. It's wildly mobile. Like it's like, oh my god, that's like the most promiscuous database ever. Like, where is it? Is it over there? Maybe it's over here too. It's everywhere. SQL can't do that, right? Doesn't do it at all. In fact, it hates it. It'll give you errors when you're trying to do it. But Git is the king at that. This ephemeral nature where it's like it's everywhere. And so having a system where we had this key offering where it was the data sovereignty part was the fact that you could pick up your stuff and move it and then move it around to somewhere else and it would stay intact and be okay. You know, that is like all you got to do before your migration is like write down the hash of your repo and make sure in the other place that it turned up the same and it still calculates. It's like that's quite powerful because you can sell hosting services. People can leave, they can come, they can share some stuff there and pay you for some stuff. Whereas with Lobhub, you kind of you're either on their cloud or you're running privately, and each time they do an update to the code, you might have some problems, right? But with a Git-based model, you're like, well, we publish the software. If you run an update, that's all fine. You can roll back, you can roll forwards, you can roll the software up and down. It's all good. So you can stay up to date with the software and run your own data privately, but you can also come back to the cloud anytime or leave the cloud. And that's kind of the difference that the database makes. Like that's what Lobhub want to do, but their database doesn't allow that. And that's why they end up in this dorky situation.
I agree. Data sovereignty really requires repos.
Data sovereignty requires repos, yeah. Because and another way to look at it is to say that data sovereignty requires one database per person. But SQL doesn't like to be set up as one database per person either.
No, it hates that. It hates that.
Yeah.
It's even worse if you try and have multiple people working on a database and then one person says, hey, I'm taking my ball back home now. I want to extract everything that I've done.
Right. And everyone's like, no, buddy. We got backups here. You can't do that. You know, like it is weird in hindsight to think that everyone's data is in this one stinking heap.
Yeah, I mean that is you hit it on the head there. I mean, I guess that's why I'm feeling slightly queasy about the sequel. And
you're feeling queasy.
As a stepping stone, fine, but it is one big morass where people throw their data and then they kind of lose that data. It's like, hey, everyone else has got it.
So how do you spell morass? Is it like that? Like more ass?
Morass. I missed that spelling, but I'm sure we'll sort it out.
I've never heard of like. Well, I mean, I sort of have.
No, it's a Scots term. Oh, I didn't know.
No, more morass. a boggy,
Morass.
swamp-like stretch o' ground, mire or quagmire, where ye'll sink if ye keen. Whatever. God damn it. Okay.
Well, you'll sink if you ken what you're doing. Basically, it's one big stinking swamp. Even if you're pretty, clued in, you're
Pretty
gonna make
familiar with
shit.
swamps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's good. What I'm hearing is Git has great value, but I'm still not hearing has great value now.
I think it's a stepping stone. We can
So I can do files. I can make files be repos and then have the
Yeah.
same thing that it used to have. What I'm realizing I have to hand make, which is probably the biggest piece of software work that I have to make, is the transclusion device. So like here it's like, you can upload an image or whatever. Here it's like, it's going to be one of these kinds of devices where you select how you're going to build up your transclusion, which files, is it chats, do you want to filter them and all that. So I'll make a super crusty one that, I'm sorry, but it'll probably just be a modal. And then you go in there and you select your transclusions and da 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 da, and then you click go, and now it's in your chat using the concat format that we've used. Right?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And then it'll be probably horrific on the data copy, but who cares? So I'm not doing any fancy deduplication using Git objects. I'm just like, we just need to play with what it feels like to use is what I think we're up to.
yes, absolutely.
All right. And then, so I'll start with just files. Is it okay if I don't allow you to add chats into the transclusions at the start, or is that that's a bit of a no deal for you?
No, it's not no deal. Higher priority would be to save files as well as transclude.
Right. Okay. So like transclude them out of a repo and write them into a repo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has to be with multiple repos at once, spanning multiple repos. I guess eventually. Okay.
It would be useful to be able to containerize the repos so that you're not just talking to one repo, but you could sidestep
across
that
them
by
all.
doing folders inside of one repo to rule them all.
Right. Or yeah. Okay. All right. And push and pull to Git. Where's that in the priority list?
Well, personally, that's actually quite up there. But underneath the transcludes and the writes, the push and pull to Git, I think, would be very helpful, but it's not strictly necessary.
Okay.
I could do work with it without that.
What would I? Your job is to organize priorities. Add an item into this list for what was it? Git hub push and pull. Yeah, GitHub push and pull, please. Did it just conk out because I swore?
I think I might have. Or maybe got a bit bored and went off for a
Sorry, was I that boring? GitHub push and pull. Oh, you're kidding.
It's fucking with you.
Right, so there's I don't even know what to say. Okay, so git push and pull, nice, not necessarily needed, including reflective type of information like the chats.
Well, what I'll do there is if there's a download tool, because we've got at the back end Git, could easily take, well, not easily.
Oh no. I think I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say that if the chats are in Git, then you want to download it from Git and then paste it up as a file.
Yeah.
No, because what I'm trying to avoid is doing that. I want to not have to do that tap on the database, because what I'm thinking for in terms of time is, because I know that the tap can be done, I want to move on to the next thing, which it's unavoidable that I need to make files handle repos. And I need to make the transclusion device so that we can add files into the context of a chat. But if you can live without having the chats included in the chat itself, then I can avoid the tap until later.
Well, here's an example of how I would use it. Say I've got one chat that's pertinent, number 2 chat that's pertinent, and number 3 chat wants to talk about these 2 chats to see if there's any commonalities, any problems, and so on.
Right, but all right, okay, all right. Well, why don't I leave that? I'll do the I'll bring in the Git repos into files first, so that you basically have a list of repos and you can browse the files, you can browse the history and all that.
Yeah, transcludes is the most important. Yeah,
and then you can transclude those files straight into the chat, and then we'll reconvene. And then if you think that I need to add the tap so that you can gain access to those chats, then I can do that.
At the back end, those repos are just going to be repos, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I could go offline outside the system and, mess with them. Add files, someone else can, think, push, and get those files.
Yep.
In which case, that should be more than enough to start with.
Okay. But then I'm just thinking, how much do I need to allow you So if you're in the chat, are you going to want to select an individual chat and transclude it?
No, I'd want to see my
the whole chat,
chats. Right? Yeah, and go, hey, I talked about this last week, talked about this yesterday.
Right.
Talk to both those chats. Well, not talk to both those chats, but I'd like to transclude both those chats.
Yeah, why I was asking is because when I go to make the transclude widget, there's going to be some kinds of information that are going to require some special attention. Chats is one of them, because you'd probably want to pick the chat from this view. So you'd want to be doing a transclude and then pick one of these and go something like, click there and go add to transclude.
Right. Yeah.
Right? and you'd want to maybe go in the message here and go add to transclude,
Yep.
right? So at that point, I'm like, well, I could do that without the tap because I could read the data that you referenced in this UI out of the SQL database and add that to the transclude.
Oh, yeah, you could.
And then
Couldn't you?
at that point, if I do the tap later for reading and writing, it'd all just work the same because the database calls are still the same.
So a transclude in that model, you could on the right hand side here saying right add that to
So I
add
click
that
there and
line.
then I'll add a new button which would be like add to transclude,
Yeah.
and then
Actually, yeah, that worked quite nicely.
and then
And
that
then
still keeps working even once we tap the database,
yeah,
which is the prerequisite step to shifting off the database and into Git. That logic is not wasted. It all still holds
yeah.
exactly the same, right?
So here's a scenario. I want to talk about chat one, chat three in the context of a file in Git as a transclude. That's my context.
Yeah, that sounds perfectly feasible without the tap.
Yeah, it does.
Right. All right. So that's great. So that means that I can defer the tap even further, and I think that we can actually launch a public or a commercial version. So like a something that people can use and pay money on. We can launch that without the tap,
Sure.
right? Because something that SQL has got going for it is great reliability. Now the
The
chat,
sorry,
sorry,
go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
chat data structure is a very interesting one because it doesn't necessarily need history. Like if I edit this thing, um, like then,
Wow.
right? Like do I need history there? Maybe, but the point is that the chat structure, because it's like your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, it is history in a way. So it's
You
less
remember?
susceptible to those needs.
You remember years ago, back in the Skunkworks, when we're dealing with file only, in that interactions don't matter unless you produce some kind of asset.
Yeah.
It's similar to that, isn't it? Um, so the chat is the process of generating assets. Now, if you've got save to Git, um, then that's the thing you're talking about. But you still want the corporate knowledge, let's call it, of the chats. If you need to go and revisit, go, okay, so on this asset, we've had a few chats different times. I would like to just you to remind me what the hell we were thinking about.
Right. I
Um,
think a chat is an asset, but it's less of an asset than a file.
it is. Well, the file being some kind of baked output, whereas you're right inside of a chat, because you could also, when you transclude chats, if it's in the SQL database, you could also go back into that singular chat and then go back and delete previous uh, prompts as much as you want. You can mess
Right.
around with that.
Right. Right.
Um, and so it's, I'm not sure how much information or how much usefulness it would be to actually track you going backwards and forwards on a previous conversation.
Um, you mean the history of the chat history? You're saying what's
Um,
really the
no, instead of a chat right now, you could, um, you know, delete or edit meow,
right?
which would change that chat.
Yeah.
Now, the SQL database doesn't store the fact that it probably logs it somewhere, but
Yeah,
doesn't
it might
store.
or it might not, but in general, it probably doesn't. It probably just hard overwrites it, and it's like, yep,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And so,
And but what's
I
the
guess
value of that alteration? You're saying it's like not a lot of value, right?
not a lot of value unless it produces something.
Yeah. Okay.
And the something is the stuff that you put to Git.
Right. So where does that leave us? Um.
It means that I think we can tolerate SQL for chats,
Right.
um, and Git
Right.
for files.
SQL for chats without the tap because the value the value of the chat history is already less than the artifact, and the value of the alteration history of the chat history is of even less value.
Yeah, and there is a bit of a cost to that because if you go in uh, and start deleting stuff in a chat, then that is lost. There's no roll forward.
Well, not unless
Of that.
if you were to if you previously added it into the context of a chat using the transclude tool,
Yeah, that would
it'll
be
still be there.
invariant. Yeah, that's right. That's invariant. So
Yeah,
if you refer to it in the context previously,
yeah,
then you can go back and mess
yeah,
with that chat in the future,
yeah.
but your previous
The
one is still good.
transclude is hard, like it's hard locked. Now you could also mess with the transcludes, but at that point, I'm like, you gonna have to just wait for Git. Like those edge cases seem vanishingly small in value compared to the speed at which we can have a working version up if we stick to SQL.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say
Well,
it. Like, it makes me feel ugly to say it, but I'm like, it's kind of just fast.
the sorry, give me a sec. I don't think we're losing that much by stating that chats are SQL based. I think we're uh, having that read write the repo and transcludes is like the massive,
Yeah, that's the win,
uses
right?
limits part,
Yeah,
and we're talking about
the minutes.
some kind of cutter who's coming
Yeah,
alongside.
yeah. So I think what's funny is that in none of like I've been through a lot of different versions of chat interfaces in the last few days. In none of them did they mention that it was a SQL database or not, and none of them were sorry about it. Like that's just how things are done, like no one's even going to notice really until we start getting into the blockchain based aspect of it. But the goal seems to be to get stucks up, right? Get NFTable stucks using whatever means possible, and then point the cannon backwards in on ourselves as though we were.
Yeah. However, and this is not the nicest straight line to it, but looking at contributions as chats plus files, um, as you say, transcludes are baked.
Mm,
And so even if there's changes to a particular chat
yeah,
after it's used in the transclude,
look,
you could.
yeah, that can just be a loss of the interim stage. We're like, look, that's a flaw because of the database structure.
All right.
Here's the stuck that fixes that. Why don't you do something about it instead of bitching?
There's also an argument that in order to um, contain constraints for attribution use, then if you chat away and say meow lots, do we really need to crawl through all the meows, or is the contribution really the act of saving to the repo of a thing?
I don't think that's our call to make. I think that all information is potentially valuable, and we want a pattern that we're going to hold to. All we're talking about is an interim stage where we don't have Git based history on the chats. That will come in the future. It
I think
seems it
Yeah.
seems clear that we can launch and have something public and commercial that runs on SQL where that's just listed as a flaw that won't impact many people at all at first, and then we'll fix it eventually.
Well, it's a special kind of flaw. It's not a bug or an issue. It is a lost opportunity,
Mm,
potentially,
mm.
that most people will not even notice. It's not
Yeah,
there.
that's right. That's right. So SQL is reliable, and so if we had a public host, we would have this one SQL database that held all the users in it and was just like, we're like, sorry for our sins, but we're working on it.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have repos running an artifact. So that leaves us on to, and we got files, we got transcludes. Transcludes is going to be, I'm going to have to make some UI that sits in here that lets you actually see what the transclude state is and modify it. And I'm going to have to integrate with stuff like this where you can click a button and add to transclude, add a file, blah, 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 all that stuff. So,
And in terms of sovereignty, the SQL database location itself can be changed, right? So you could run on-prem.
no. Well, you could, but you couldn't easily, and I wouldn't want to support exporting your chats down. Like, I'm not going to spend my time helping anyone do that. Like, wait for Git.
Yeah, but there'd be nothing stopping someone starting off with the target SQL being their own SQL database.
Oh
But
yeah, you
that's down
could.
to
Yeah,
them.
you could. But the migration in and out, like you're not gonna. We don't have the time to help you go from
Also,
on-prem up to cloud and back.
yeah, yeah.
But I think
No,
that's quite telling, right? Like that's a telling flaw in SQL that you actually can't do that.
yeah, yeah. Basically, if you're going to go on-prem, you have to go to on-prem from the start,
Yeah,
and then hey, yeah,
yeah.
you got
We
your
we
data
might
sovereignty.
we might allow you to download your data, maybe, but it's like that use case is like, yeah, it's not good.
You should be. I wonder how they do the database in the background because you should be able to take a dump from it.
Take a dump. Yeah, well, you can.
Is there a SQL interface at all, or is it all obfuscated?
Nah, there isn't.
All right, okay. So if you start off on the cloud, you're on the cloud for your chats.
That's it. Yeah.
If you
There,
start
I
off
think
on-prem,
in their professional version they might have an export function, but man, I don't know.
but that's someone else's problem.
Yeah, and
No,
I kind of like I don't want to support that because I'm like like that's messy, man. Like that's so messy.
yeah.
And then
There's
you
people making good coin just doing that one
I
thing that
know,
seems
and then you can
reasonable.
end up
But
stuck halfway because you're like, I downloaded it from the cloud and then it didn't work on prem, and you're like, oh god,
yeah,
well, like whose fault is that? I don't even know.
yeah.
Um,
But the point being, anyone who's really, I'm thinking about the East Africa guys who are really into data sovereignty. Like you want data sovereignty, set up a SQL database,
yeah,
point at that,
yeah,
and
from the
everything
get
else
go.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from the get go, and
yeah.
then yeah,
Just make your choice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
yeah. All right, so I'll make transcludes. I'll make files and repos. Everything else is going to stay the same very much. Then we move on to frames and naps and agents and group chats, which is starting to sound like a lot of shit we got to do. But either way, there was another one as well. So we got NFTs we want to add, but there's also like long running tasks and the management of them.
I couldn't see anything on the long running task.
Sorry, what do you mean?
As
Oh, there
in,
isn't. There isn't.
there's
So what I think long running tasks is, from our point of view, will be a frame that's used to interact with the task system of Artifact.
yeah,
And that's, I think at that point, this interface is done. It's like, well, we've got frames, we've got repos, we've got reflection on your own chat, so you can transclude your own chats, and frames can interact with the Artifact long-running agent system. We don't need to use this system for that.
yeah.
So
And
let me. Sorry.
no, I'll hold that thought.
Let me show you something. These guys have actually come a long way in terms of they're sort of doing naps and they're sort of doing
That's
frames.
exactly the example I was about to give.
So I got one set up that I can use easily. This thing. That's a frame.
Where did that come from? Whose is that?
Well, I went plugins, plugin store, and then this is a range of plugins that you can select from. You can also connect an MCP plugin, so Model Context Protocol. But what's interesting is that they've got a system going whereby, see, this is a frame.
Yeah.
View the frame source. So all of these, they set up their own registry, so it's not like a decentralized registry or anything like that. They run their own registry. You can add new items by, doing a pull request against it. They've done the UI work so that it comes up nicely inside the UI. They've got parameters, which is sort of like it's sort of like the nap function call items that we have.
Yeah.
So they're basically turning a tool call into a one-off in-chat, in-band render of a frame. So you can sort of, it's really nicely done. Like, it's basically frames, but just so that's the in our language that would be the nap call.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so that's they're not making it run in a big window, but I'm sure that with a little bit of coding I could make it run in a big window, in a stateboard style window too.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So a lot of the UI is there, and yeah, they've also got like an assistant marketplace where you can come in and you can browse different assistants.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah.
Which is kind of cool because it made me think of what we'd talked about as naps that can take natural language calls. That can be an assistant, right? Like an assistant would be something that came with, say, some background knowledge, some prompts, some inbuilt tools, and all that. And then you can kind of badge it. See, they've got these model things. You could badge it like how they've got here, where it supports deep thinking. It's got a token length. You can advertise the modalities of what your thing can do. So I'm not frustratingly not seeing one I want, but like a multimodal one that's got video, audio, deep thinking, function calling. You can kind of badge them nicely. Is all I'm really trying to get at. But what we want is we want naps, which would give you function calling plugins. We want frames that are like naps that can have a visual element that can be displayed in the UI. We've seen one version of it. I'll make the stateboard version too. and then we want assistants or bots, which is like a nap that can take multimodal prompt input and give it back to you. And then we want agents, which is a independent entity that takes all of those things and acts like a person.
Yep.
Is that still holding together all of those pieces?
No, that's still holds together.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the long-running nature of it, isn't I couldn't see anything that you could set something going, and I'll come back next Tuesday.
Sorry, I'm just standing up because I sprained my ass, and it's still sore.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, apparently. Well, so I know this is a divergence. I feel like I need to explain this bit, but they've boldly made a different model to what everyone's used to. So in ChatGPT, these are actually your chats, and they call them topics. But what they've got down here is they have assistants, where the assistants are the model plus the prompt plus the functions ready to go. And so the idea is that you have multiple chats with the assistant, and then they show up as topics. And so each individual chat you have is with a particular combination of plugins, prompt, and model. But that seems a lot like what a person is, right? Because this, you could argue that down here could be one-on-one chats with another person that you're having, or group chats as well. So the issue is that these assistants are not agents because they're under your complete control. But when an agent fires up, an agent is going to have these internal assistants that it's going to use to do tasks, that are going to do its tasks, that are going to sort of walk around and do stuff. And so I guess I'm just a little fuzzy on that separation, right? Because where do I put it? I think I put in this chat thing here, it's just like I'll just separate out or badge what your internal assistants are versus your external ones are, or I should make a new button, a new section, which would be agents or entities. You get what I mean? Like there's a fundamental difference between talking to a nap that's just prompted and got some knowledge base and can even have some long-lived context, but it's still not an agent because it isn't independent. It runs at your whim. And I guess, the agent does too, but it feels fundamentally different because it's almost like an agent is potentially a swarm of these assistants. Anyway, I think I'm going down the rabbit hole of trying to define something. I think the only real, as we keep coming back to, the only real definition distinction is an agent is just at your level. That's all. Whereas an assistant is below your level. You talk down to it. Whereas an agent, you talk across to it.
Yes, and part of that acrossness is the agent could, well, if we think about all a situation where all agents are actually people
Mm.
and they're off doing stuff in the background and so on, and
Mm.
then text you, at 2 a.m. saying, "Hey, I just finished this. What do you
Right.
think?"
Right.
You never asked it to text you,
Right. That's right.
but it does
That's right.
know that you were interested in what it was doing. And in the meantime, it's got a team of um, kind of sub um,
Assistance.
assistants. Yeah.
Yep.
That if they sit there fat, dumb, and happy and do nothing until you ask it to do something.
Yeah. But that's not entirely true because they could be set on a timer or they could be connected up to triggers.
Sure, but they're still only doing what you told us to do.
Right.
They're not
Oh,
doing
yeah.
anything fancier than that.
Right. You'd kind of also expect an agent to not do anything fancier than what you want to. Like, this is what I mean. Like, I think it's a whole. The only real distinction is at your level, and that it's how you interact with them. It's not what they do, how they do it, what they say,
Mm.
anything like that. It's really just the level thing, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I guess what I was pushing at there, I did it quite poorly, but there's a certain amount of autonomy in an agent that an assistant doesn't really have.
I refute that and I challenge that by saying that any feature that an agent does, I think that an assistant could do, except for masquerade as a person.
Oh, so the presentation layer.
It's just how you handle it, the ergonomics, the packaging, the
Mm.
interaction. You talk to it as though it's a person, and it might be a person, but an assistant you know for sure is a bot.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the way that an agent would be operating is that internally it would have a bunch of assistants that whirred away and shared stuff and went back and forth before it popped out its conclusion on the peer message channel.
Mm.
And so when you're in a group chat with an agent, you're like, "Hey, how's the weather?" It might disappear for 15 minutes while they all have a like, "Is this a trick question? Is who is this
Mm.
guy? What weather is he talking about?" Blah, blah. And it comes back and it's like, "The weather's good." That's perfectly fine. That's how an agent would work.
Mm. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, triggers is missing, so I'll need to add that at some point. I think that's a much later kind of a addition,
Mm-hmm.
like hooking it up to a new email has arrived. Ta-da! Um, do something. That stuff is gonna need to be a bit deferred.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what else is there? What was in that old interface? I do hate this work because it's so damn hard and large, but I do believe that this is the end. Like, if we can't make this system work with this interface, it's not.
I quite like this interface now, actually. Um, well, I like the fact that there's such a large team working on pushing out new stuff.
I know, and they're vigorous. Like, they're doing it
Yeah.
all the time. Okay, so what do we got? Chats, we got that. Contacts. Do we need a contact list? Or is that the
Uh,
same as saying they sort of had that. They sort of had that. Oh god, where is it? They had it. I lost. Oh, there. New assistant. Oh no, I fucked it up. Man, don't even know our own interface. Um, where the fluff was the list of agents? There was an agent. Where's the assistant marketplace? Did I turn that off in this install maybe? Dun, dun. I lost it, buddy. Oh, sorry. Maybe it's here. Discover assistant. My bad. All right.
Oh yeah. I've had a look at this. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone's assistants. That's not really contacts though, is it? This is more like a store. So I think we need contacts, right? Because chats is where you're chatting with. So we'll make an internal chat or an assistants chat button. Then we'll make a agents chat button where you're talking with your peers, including group chats.
Yep.
And then we'll make a contacts list where you can search for your contacts, and you can chat to a bot about your contacts or about some contacts, or give it access to search the contacts and things like that.
Yep.
And then transcludes is going to go in here. Rather than being a dedicated button. Events is going to go probably in the settings area, I'd imagine. Repos is going to replace files. We're going to collapse repos, branches, and files all together. Installed naps is going to actually be sort of jumbled up somewhere in their installed plugins thing. So that sort of maps really well, actually. Like, they got a concept of an installed thing and a not installed thing, which is pretty fortuitous. So we got yeah, it's not really here. So I might have to add a little bit around what it means to install these plugins, but naps and plugins are very, very much the same. Accounts handled, logouts handled, helps handled. Settings is just going to be part of the files, because that was just repo settings anyway. So that can just be part of the files/repos page. Where does innovations go, mate? Where should I put innovations?
It doesn't fit in any of this, does it?
Nah. It needs to.
Innovations is closest to the marketplace, isn't it?
So you'd want to see it as discover, and then you want to put, so you're in the middle of discovering all these cool things, and up here you've got a button that says problems. Would you like to discover problems?
Yeah.
Would you like to create problems?
Yeah. Because this, it feels semantically similar to that discovery thing where
Discover.
you've got kind of these assistants are types of solutions, and it seems semantically reasonable that you put well, here's the other side of the coin, things that haven't been done yet.
right? And then so not its own button, like not a new button down here.
No,
So where do you
no.
go when you want to fund a problem?
Well, if it was
Or is
in
that
the Discover, the top menu, you hit innovations, and then you've got
right?
these blocks, and you go, "Oh, okay, yeah, what is it? Well, that sounds interesting. Click on it, and then when you click, you can click on Turtle Soup, for example.
Right. Ah,
It's
and then
got
so it's a similar thing would occur. So then switch into frames mode to interact with the innovation more deeply, right? Like,
yeah,
but the frame that lets you fund a stuck feels like it should be system supplied,
um,
right?
yeah, but there's a
Like
lot of
it's kind of it's a pretty system critical piece. Why is it relegated to just a frame that pops up sometimes, or is that perfectly okay?
it just seems semantically it's like, well, you could put marketplace down the left hand side without innovations, and sure, that would be fine, but it's not the same job as you're doing. I mean, you've got Discover there. For
Yeah,
example, if you could have one below that, which would be a subtype of Discover.
a subset of discover, which is to discover solutions.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right. It doesn't feel like it belongs. Hmm. And then how does the how does the stuck generation mechanism surface?
Stuck generation as opposed to consumption.
Yeah, so when I'm chatting away and then it doesn't do something, and I'm like, I come back, I go here, and I go massive thumbs down, which they don't have, but I go thumbs down because it was
Yeah.
sucked, or like the background process recognizes that this response was wrong.
Right. So you kind of
A
want to
stuck
be
is
able to,
generated.
yeah, but you generate it as a helper, and then you probably want to edit it, going, oh, actually, here's some additional context, and you can pick up
I
on it and tie it.
well, let's consider that it was a dedicated button because just like you got files,
Mm-hmm.
you would have stucks, not because files now covers many different repos.
Mm-hmm.
Stucks, we could make stucks just a subtype of files. Like these are the stucks to do with the repo.
Mm.
But then it makes it hard to hit up stucks across repos globally. It does belong in Discover, but then Discover doesn't allow it to be drilled into as much. Like the store type interface is very much like,
Right. Can I completely reverse what I previously said?
sure.
um, on reflection, um, as in I was previously wrong. Um, uh, innovations is the main thing that we've got to offer.
Is
Everything,
it?
everything else,
It's
we're
the
just
second main
derivative.
thing. The primary main thing is the ambient attribution agent.
Right, right.
This,
But
this.
without innovations, then, well, we could have attribution. But innovations is the big thing,
All
right?
right. Why don't we
So,
say that we're contributing a triangle of things:
mm,
innovations, the ambient attribution agent, and naps.
yeah, yeah. And so, uh, what we shouldn't do is bury those.
Right. So what you're saying then is the ambient attribution agent should sort of end up as like the number one guy you talk to. It's like your default friend,
Right, right.
right?
Um,
Or is it higher than that and it's actually listening in or laced into every conversation you're having?
it is, but that you should always be listening in. So when you say, "Nah, this is shit, I'm stuck,"
Mm.
it will know what the context is. It will go,
Well,
right, okay,
let me show
let
you
me help with
something in the backstage view in the admin settings. Sorry, you had more follow up? Am I cutting you off here?
that. Just one thing.
Yeah.
Innovations can be solved directly by discovery
Sorry,
because I
I
don't.
don't understand.
So say if I've got an
Oh,
assistant
like you
that
want to
has
make
got
the
something.
discovery is all about the stocks, and the what you saw there as like store items like assistants and plugins is actually solutions to stocks.
Exactly.
And so you merge the store, you get the Ford's Nap store, which where you go looking for things that you don't have and it creates them.
Yeah.
And then when you look at things that aren't quite there yet, you can start analyzing them for so you could like because the whole pull of the interface is as soon as you can you do some stuff, you grab some context and you jump into a chat. That's really what we want to be happening. So in discovery you'd pull up the store, you'd find the thing you wanted, and then you'd like click a button to go chat about it, and it would that would select that item as a transclude and drop you into a chat where
Mm-hmm.
you're now talking about the thing, and that's where you do analysis like how much is this worth, how much is this person getting, and that's where frames would come up that show analytics and all that, right? Because we don't want to do special things in the app. The all the special things we have here are geared around helping you set up ready for doing a chat, because the chat is the whole, it's everything here. The buttons are just to pick pieces of context that are harder to piece together in text, that are easier to sort of click on and show around, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Precisely.
Okay. But we don't want to make our core components be things that you can only get to when you say the right words in the chat, like it pops up as a in the state board only because you asked about, solving the world's problems. We want the icon because it makes it sort of front and center.
Yes. So, for example, um, so if you're in a chat and you're getting frustrated because you couldn't do what you wanted to do because
Hmm.
it lacks some functionality.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd expect then is to be able to go over to innovations and saying, "Hey, here's a transclude of my last chat. Uh, I wanted it to do this, and it didn't."
All right. Well,
Um,
here's an interesting angle for you then. What if the innovations was presented as an agent, and so you're in a chat, and then you give it the thumbs down, and it says, "Do you want to talk to the innovations agent about this?" And you go, "Yeah." It then starts a new chat with the innovation agent. It pulls in the current chat as context, and then you
mhm.
start talking to this agent about your problem, and it tries to analyze what's been going on. It may suggest some existing tools that came from the discovery thing. What if the discovery was a type of chat that you had, and what was special about it was that it started with the state board open on discovery, but it really was a chat, and you chat about what's in the discovery frame, and you talk through it, and it works through different bits and pieces to narrow down what discovery was. Like, isn't it better to make these buttons be kicking off a chat?
Oh, by far. I mean,
Yeah,
if you were to hit discovery now or discover, I was doing this earlier on. So if you click that, and it's like, okay, so now I've got to read text. I
right,
was thinking
right.
this is
So,
an AI platform.
all right. So really, what you want is you click discover, and it's a shortcut to boot up a pre-configured agent that launches with the state board already populated on discover, and then you can start talking about what you want, right?
Right, right. Because
Right.
on this Discover at the moment, the experience I had thinking about it was, it's like, ooh, lots of boxes.
Okay.
Am I going to have to
So
read through all those boxes?
so
And
then shouldn't we make a button here that was starting a new chat with the ambient attribution agent? And that's where
that,
you're like, what am I going to get paid for this? Who said that?
that's different from what I was thinking about. So
Okay. What?
that's the supply side. On the demand side, it might be the case that there are plugins somewhere in
Right.
here that if you just install it on your chat, you'll be
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
It'll translate to Spanish
Yep.
until the cows come home.
Yep.
Um, but what I don't want to do is have to scroll through.
What did we just? So what I'm thinking this button now does
Hmm.
is I click on it, it will open up a new chat with the Discovery Assistant. So it's an internal chat,
Hmm.
and that chat launches with the state board already open on what used to be the landing page of the Discovery button.
Hmm.
And now you can chat about whatever you like, and the Discovery agent helps, the Discovery Assistant helps you narrow it down and displays you your options in the state board frame. You can click on some manually, or you can type the conventional search thing, but it's really about, it kicks off a chat for you where you can call on your previous context and all that as well.
Yes, and let's take a simple example. Is like I want to translate this to Spanish, and you go into the Discovery chat and go, okay. So in this other chat, you want it to translate stuff as a plugin into Spanish. Yeah, we got one of those. I
Mm.
want to translate this into Klingon.
The two are
No, we
part of
don't.
a
We don't
pair,
have one
right?
of those.
All right.
We don't. Yeah.
So,
It's like, would you like to create a stack?
give me
Do you want
just
to escrow?
give me
Right.
just enough rope to hang myself, please. I'm gonna try and do something here. I think I'm starting to see the future for us. I'm gonna take a screenshot, but I'm just not sure how. Okay, that'll do. Hey, yep. Yep. Okay. So this this button, I think, will make it be the solutions button, which is where you come to find solutions. This button will be the, oh god, I cannot draw well with a mouse in VR. The next button down will be the problems button, which is where you'd come to talk about your problems. It would have some of the same tools as the Discovery Assistant, and others would be different. But that's where you go to go through stucks and talk about stucks, navigate stucks, and it pops up a frame that is the frame discovery, that is the stucks discovery equivalent, and but it's driven by this bot that can help you create new stucks. It does create new stucks on its own in the background. You can look at everything you've ever done regarding stucks with this assistant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then lastly, there's a button down here.
It helps if you stick your tongue out the corner of your mouth while
It
you're
is a
drawing with the
yep,
mouse in VR.
right. And then this is the heart button, which represents ambient attribution. And so when you click on that, you get, I'm not yet sure if it's either an assistant or an agent, but it's some kind of a chat-based interface to the ambient attribution system, and you get an accompanying frame that provides relevant information at a glance using conventional UI techniques, but it primarily it brings in your context to the chat so you can begin with this purpose. Like these buttons then become more like assistant shortcuts as opposed to opening up a new clangy sort of lump of user interface.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
kick you. They really just kick you into chat mode with an easy preset, and you can get there from within any other part of the app by like jumping there. Like they're kind of like your. So you do stuff in the chat, and then when you click one of these buttons, you begin your conversation with whichever one it was, but it pulls in the context that you were just doing by default, because that's the time you want these agents, is you want to talk about what you were just doing. Like you probably don't want to start a brand new conversation with one of them, or else you'd do that a different way. You want to talk about it with your recent context, which you can also cancel pretty easily. And that's really the usefulness of these buttons, is I want to jump to a new chat. I want to pull this context with me as I go, and then I want to talk with a specific purpose about solving a specific problem.
Yeah. So you can imagine the journey would be, I've got a blank assistant.
Yeah.
And I want to do something, very specific. I try and go to a specific thing, and it's a bit shit. So then you jump out, and the chat is pulled with you. And
Yeah.
It's like taking a step back. It's like, what were you actually trying to do there? Oh, well, really what I want to do is...
Right. Like what I'd want it to do is, if I jumped into the problem or the Stux assistant, I'd want to just click that button and it would start whirring away trying to figure out in the background what the problem actually was. And so I could just click it once and then go back to whatever I was doing or do something else. And by the time I come back, it would have made several genuine Stux, but it's also there to be like, did I get this right? Is this what the problem was?
Yeah, exactly. But the process would be, blank assistant is a bit shit. It's like, okay, so I want to click this button, and it pulls in the context, and that you're now talking to an assistant with the context of your previous chat, and that assistant would say, so what exactly we're trying to do here? I'm trying to do a calculus. It's like, right, okay. Yep, we've got something on file. Do you want me to install that on your assistant? And you go, yeah, go for it. And then you bomb back out, and it's now got calculus.
Right, it fixed the problem for you, right? It's like, hey, I got a problem, and this thing is aware of the system itself. Like, it's like, I lost my icon, or like, I don't like the current icon, and it's like, done, fixed. Yeah. You good?
The cool thing is, it's the same loop. You're now using calculus, and it's like, it knows nothing about general relativity. Okay, back out. It's like, hey,
yeah, I like that model, man. I like that model. Yeah. I like it a lot.
It's like, nobody's written a plugin for general relativity. Would you like to create a Stux? How much do you want to scroll?
Yeah. And so when you're talking to each one of these ones, they could easily switch to a different assistant mid chat, because they're like, look, I think that you could come looking for a solution, but then it's like, actually, there's nothing here. Look, how about we switch over to the problem guy, and we'll figure out a full problem for
Right,
you.
right. And it gets away from all this hunt and peck. It's like, I don't know
Yeah,
what plugins I need to put
I
in. I
know,
don't know
right?
what
You
you've
can
got
tell
this.
that these guys are so close with everything they're doing, but they still end up with conventional UI,
Yeah,
right?
which
It's like,
sucks.
nah, I don't want to know about that.
You know, the bane of my life is you go into the discovery thing here. It's just one example, but many do it. And then it's like you get two, maybe three pages, and at the bottom you've got that soul destroying row of page numbers. This goes 2, 3, 5,
Yeah, right.
all the way
And
up
you're
to
like,
10,
I
and then
just,
more. And it's like,
yeah, please
search
don't do
space too
this to
much.
me.
And you got a search, you got a search box. And it's like, I don't even know what it's called. What do you guys call it? I don't know.
Right.
And but I do know intimately my problem and what I'm
I
trying to solve.
know, right? So, okay. So that's really fun. Okay, so let me just run through the button layout one more time. I know this is probably the most boring ass shit on the planet, but it costs me a lot of time each time we change something around.
Yeah,
So,
no worries, go
okay,
for it,
so
go
from
for
the
it.
top, we're gonna have assistant chats, which are internal to you, and
Yep.
with a range of assistants. Then we're gonna have files, which is where you can browse your repos, interact with repos, things like that. Manage your data, basically.
Yep. Yep.
Then you're gonna get the button for discovering solutions,
Mm-hmm.
where when you now, because I know, button for discovering solutions, which is gonna start an assistant chat with you about discovery.
Yep.
Then you're gonna have a stucks button where that starts a discussion, bringing in whatever context you had, which interestingly enough could be your current conversation with the stucks assistant,
Yep.
and you will then talk about what's wrong, and you'll also be able to look at all the other things that you've complained about, as well as what the whole world has complained about. And
Mm-hmm.
then lastly, there will be the ambient attribution assistant, where you can talk about ambient attribution, what it is, how it's affected you, ask questions about it, things like that. That was probably
I
the
think,
weakest of my
yeah,
statements there.
I think you missed one. So if
Oh,
I
okay.
turn up and I can solve stuff, who's got a problem to solve?
Right, but talking to the ambient attribution assistant would be where you'd talk about what's the most valuable problem to solve. Because,
Sure, or you might say what's the easiest,
yeah,
not the most valuable.
yeah. So that's different. So what do we got?
We've
We
got
got
20 minutes, you know. Sorry,
yeah. So
not in real life.
discovery,
Yeah.
discovery is about the hereditary benefit, how you receive inherited utility or technology, because that's findings, naps, and stuff that
Yeah.
can, yeah. Then you've got the fitness function, which is the ambient attribution assistant that determines that sets the rules as to what reward means. And then you've got the adaptation function, which is sort of started by the Stux component, the Stux assistant, but it's really the adaptation is a little bit one step removed. It's people using this platform as a whole to solve Stux. So Stux is like the first part of the adaptation process. You go stuck, and then you go adaptation attempts as people browse and find and bots churn and whirl and all that, and then you get a release of some kind, which is like the nap.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then the nap becomes inherited by way of discovery, and then the reward function, which is like guarantees what fitness is the ambient attribution assistant that looks at who used discovered solutions by how much, and then it attributes out to who contributed to the stucks that were needed to be solved to make it.
Yeah.
Right, and now we've launched with our 3 core, the evolutionary pillars: hereditary function or hereditary method, whatever, fitness function, and reward function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've got our, and then down the bottom under those go the social parts, which is like contacts, which is where do I find people and where do I find agents, and then chats, which is where I'm chatting to people and agents and possibly in groups.
Yeah.
And then that's the whole thing, I think.
Yeah. I think it is.
God, this shit takes so long. And then help, well, help's easy because that's just, you click on help or docs, and that's just going to start you a discussion with the docs agent, docs assistant with the docs frame open.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty trivial. Log out, accounts not, account you don't really want to chat with the account assistant, do you? Or should you? Because you get this, right? Like, is this... I think we don't need to override this because it's already there and it's just easy to leave it.
Yeah, also, yeah, there's something about...
Oh, thanks for broadcasting my IP, you
just dox you.
God damn it. This stupid app.
There's something about accounts that is special, isn't it? Because it's like, that's the point where you start to pay attention.
Yeah, I think it's a bit rude to, like, you might not be fully on board with the AI or the things movement, and you'd probably be pretty mad if you couldn't alter your profile without talking to a bot.
That would be irritating.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well that sounds like the what's the word for that? Like, I think that's complete.
That does sound complete. You're right.
And the thing is, we can, if we bring it online in just the right order, we can have it running like very early. You know, like, I mean, it is running. It is running right now.
Yeah.
This is it. We fuck, where do I put billing? So I've already got, fuck. So always a fucking problem, isn't there?
Billing sounds like an account thing. It's like that's where I'd want to go when dealing with money.
All right, I can add. Oh, look at that! Oh yeah, I can add my Ethereum wallet. Yeah. So security. I'm gonna have to delete this part of the video. There. So there's tokens. I'll just have to jack it in somewhere around here, right? But it's like, what we'll do is we'll go... how did they do it on the main thing? They have it there, right? They got
Well,
a
plans and
whole
pricing
separate
is
thing.
not the same as billing, is it?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Whatever it is.
usage. So they've kind of hidden that from us because they're probably like, why would you need that
Mm.
unless you were making a competitive product? And that's fine, whatever. Um, Plans and pricing. So we'd have like simply a page that just showed, I guess, what are we selling? We're like, here's some hosting, here's some model calls. We basically just allow you to have a single place to pay to get model calls done
Yeah,
with.
because really we want to get paid through ambient attribution. So
Right, and we probably wouldn't actually charge any margin on the model calls because we're like, it's at cost, so you can't complain that it's more expensive.
yeah,
Um, and then it we'd also allow you to make payments to buy escrowed things.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And then once we've set that up, that's kind of good to go because that means that you can use the bots as much as you want and you're not going to burn all of our credits because you have to pay more if you want to burn more.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then what? Then we start to work on things like making agents that can do long running tasks like workflows, managing, figuring out how those things go, right?
Yeah, yeah. Workflows are a big one.
Right. But that feels doable in this platform. And at least if we get that all going, then we're up, like we're standing. We're like, huh. We have naps, which is like execution, anything you want, really. Oh, a big one is being able to vibe code some code and then have it be consumable and useful as an app. And that's quite subtle, but that's what this platform should be, because by the use of frames and naps, we can make it so you can vibe code something and then have a platform to use it, share it, monetize it. Whereas without that, you're going to have to make a standalone web app or something else, something more horrific like an Android app. But we allow you to make just little useful snippety tools that people can run and they don't have to worry about the provenance of them terribly because it's like sandboxed.
Yeah, which is no small thing.
It is no small thing, indeed. Man, I think this is the final stretch, eh?
I think so. I'm trying furiously to try and figure out where to break this, but
So these buttons here on our old interface can just become assistants and frames because, like the process management system is just talking to an assistant about your processes and it uses this frame. Triggers, again, same principle. So yeah, it's all kind of. I think the key is that you click a button, and it starts a new chat with some dedicated frame as a helper, and optionally can pull in the context of what you were just doing.
yes,
Like that's quite a crucial little thing, eh? Like
yeah,
hauling in the previous chat as context as well as like the last few messages or the last message that you'd selected.
because
So
that's continuity. It's continuity of thought. It's like you turn up trying to do something.
it is, but it's I think there's a better word for it than continuity of thought. It's like it's memory. Like you change topic, but you remember what you just said
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can bring it in. That's kind of the difference, right? Because when you're talking to these bots now, you start a new chat, you're like, do you know what I was just saying? And it's like, no, sir, how are you today? How can I help? And you're like, fuck.
yeah. I and when you're if you turn up with a task to do, um, and the vanilla assistant just can't do it.
Mm,
What we don't want to do, it's a bit like, when you phone up helplines and they say, I'll just put you onto my manager or the billings department. And then you go into
right.
billings department and they go, right, how can I help? It's like, don't you know? I've just spent 20 minutes talking to this other dude. Now I'm
Right,
talking
that's
to you.
right. And I also passed the fucking security test that you just asked me for again. It's like, why
Yeah.
don't I go kill myself? How about that?
And
With
it's
that?
like, I'm going to have to talk about it again. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you're in the wrong department. Let me transfer you to this. And it's like, there's
like,
another department.
just
And
like,
it's like,
but no,
hey,
no, no, wait,
hey
wait.
there, how can I help? Well, you should know how you can help, right? Because I'm now an hour into this call. I was going, oh, could you go through the situation? No, I'd rather not. For fuck's sake. Do you guys not pass notes?
Right, that's the key problem, right? You lose all the memory of all the context. It's like a context is just dropped.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
context drop is what you're avoiding with that thing. Like you need a way to escalate out of your current chat, but you don't want to drop the context, and that's where that like button comes in.
yeah, yeah. And it
Okay, all
goes
right,
in, and
this is getting cool. This is getting cool.
it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna have to re-explain myself, and
That's
we can
right.
effectively pick up the conversation where you last left it off, only now with an assistant who has different skills.
Yep, yep, yep. Okay, so count stays the same. Assistants, files, discover, solutions, complaints or stucks, ambient attribution, some sort of a gap, contacts, agent chats.
Yeah. So I'm chatting away to an agent or an assistant, and I'm getting frustrated, and so I've got a big red button that I hit. That big red button is called basically
Stuck.
fix it. Stuck. I'm stuck.
The
And
Fixinator.
then your context is pulled through to or your chat as context is pulled through to
Mm-hmm.
a helpful assistant who's trying to fix your stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a concierge,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
and saying, what you really want to do is install this previous plugin. Would you like to do it? And it's like, yes, please. It's like, great.
Mm.
I will now go back to the chat, and that plugin is now there.
Right.
I go,
And
I go
and you
further
get a
on.
little message that goes, "The Fixinator is installing plugins."
Right, exactly. And it's like, hey, does this work? It's like, it's about 50% solution there. Okay,
Mm.
go back to the concierge and say, okay, so that was great. And
So that
you got all the
that system could create a fork of the chat that was a problem to you, and it could run like 20 different variations to make sure that the outcome was good before it declared the fix done.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, absolutely good. Yeah. So so now you're at a point where you got 50% solution, pop back out, going, quite like closer to 90%. Thank you very much.
Mm.
Uh, and the helpful bots goes, okay, now we've got nothing on the shelf for that. Would you like to create a stack, sir? And you go, yeah, sure. And then you go into Stuckbot and go, right, I see the problem is you don't, you have a glaring gap of what you're trying to do that can't be done. I understand
Can it be
what you're
done?
trying to do. Here's how I suggest you structure the stuck. Would you like to talk about it? Did they get it right? And you go, well, actually, now you're thinking about it. Yes, that's close, but okay. Chat. And it's like, okay, right, we now got stuck. Would you like to escrow?
Right,
Sure.
right. It's
Right,
like,
okay, I'm
here's
going
how
to
much
escrow
this
against
is
that.
probably worth.
Yeah.
Do you want to
And
add some
then,
money to it?
right.
Right.
And then you can flip back to your 50% solution, which is probably okay enough for now. Now, someone else turns up and go, hey, I've got skills. What's on the marketplace for escrowed stuff? And, that's easy. I could do that. So they pick it up and they create something. They've got the previous context from the previous chats.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, on evaluation, would the thing that I've just created solve the stuck that this person's generated? And the agent would be going, yeah, that's pretty good, man. You're probably going to get 90% there. It's
Yeah.
like, brilliant. Okay, let's publish it. And then the original user, whose escrow it was saying, hey, we've just released your escrow because
Yeah.
this thing is now fixed.
You just earn money.
And it's like, right, okay, back into the chat. And it's like, yay, it's 90%. Fantastic.
Okay, so then I think that you agree that this is the final run, right? Like this is where we can
Yeah.
bring
If we
up.
get that loop done, then Standfast, the actual payment event on attribution, which I haven't really talked about, we're still black boxing that a bit. But
Why?
yeah,
What do you mean?
well, as in if the plugin that was created or if the app that was created is then used lots of places, lots of people are getting charged for it, then the attribution algorithm is the one that does the payment event.
Yeah.
But it doesn't break anything. That's just another agent.
That's just a winning bonus. Well, that's the ambient attribution agent, which has got its own button there, because you can
Right.
go into it at any time and be like, "Hey, where's my thing, man? Where's my stuff?"
Right. Yeah, and as a doer, you can come in, look for, the stocks.
Yeah.
I could definitely do that. Ambient attribution agents. Tell me what I would expect to receive from that. Well, you got an escrow against that, but this looks pretty popular. There have been 4 people who have been stuck in the similar kind of way. We may want to pull some or all of the escrow of all of those, but it's not just going to be you, because depending on how you do it, you might need to borrow work from elsewhere. But here's an estimate. You're probably going to get
Yeah.
X.
Okay. All right. It's just starting to feel like that's the end.
That sounds like a pretty reasonable user story. The I think it sounds weird. As a thought experiment, thinking through this in terms of phoning up a helpline on some kind of bureaucracy and all the friction points that you get, or what we used to call the dockyard runaround.
Mm.
If we can smooth all those out with agents, then it's going to sound like the system is engaged, trying to help, even if what you're asking for just
Because
doesn't
even in
exist.
like in ChatGPT, when something goes wrong, you're like, God damn it! Like, who do you yell at? Who do you complain
Right.
to? Right?
Exactly, and is that frustration is people will pay money
Yeah.
to get rid of that frustration. It's like just
Right.
fucking make it
So,
work.
all right. This design feels like it's enough to bring the ambient attribution agent to life
It does. I don't think we need anything more.
for it. So I'll
Um,
go ahead and do it, and I'll figure out the order that's like the cheapest, fastest thing. Because this right now, if I just added billing to this is a working system that we can publish and invite people to, and they can have projects and they can use data and all that.
yeah,
And then we can just add bits on to that, I think.
yeah, I agree. And then, in addition, on the we've got um, transcludes, we've got folders, we've got access to the chats, albeit in SQL, but we can deal with that in due course. Um, and so there's a platform not only to create shit or solve your problems, there's also a platform to um, earn money by solving those problems, and there is a platform for you to actually use the thing.
And then we can use that once we get shared chats going. We can start having conversations about getting the intelligence out to tackle, okay, these new rules with the SEC and the Commodities Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are we going to make it so that escrows are legitimate on chain? We feel like they're very strongly able to be. How do we make autonomous companies or put an AI in charge of an NFT so it's actually an agent that no one can mess with? How do we do all that? And then we
Well,
can start.
that yeah, that
That's
points.
actually the real value that we
Yeah,
want is the intelligent guidance to tell us how to tackle these hard problems, right?
yeah, and that points to another, probably the final icon, which is something like trading, you know, where you can go in
Ah,
and
assets.
yeah,
Yeah, assets. So you're like, what do you got? And it's like, well, I got money
right.
and I got, yeah, that's actually, should we put that in now? Because that's what is that? That's not part of the evolutionary principles. Trading is not required for evolution to occur.
No,
But
it is. I mean, what you need.
so do you want a
Uh,
trading assistant where you go in and it's like,
yes.
well, here's what you've got. These are your assets. Here's the NFTs that have this value and that value. Or is it enough that we can declutter the interface? Like it feels essential, right?
It does.
Like it's so our fundamental pillars: Stux, solutions, trading, ambient attribution.
Right.
Those are our four buttons. But why does trading not seem like the others?
Um,
Is funding part of trading? It kind of
yes,
is,
I
right?
think it is. I think it is.
So
And also
funding,
post funding is similar to
the reverse.
trading. Yeah.
So yeah,
Uh,
funding late is just trading.
yeah. I
Ambient
mean, look,
attribution, the payment comes into trading. Could it be, and I'm happy to back down from this, could it be that actually one of the functions of the ambient attribution assistant is to advise on trading?
sure. I mean, it seems to fit there, doesn't it?
So when you talk to the ambient attribution agent, that's where you can start to make trades and where you can
You're
buy.
talking to, yeah, you're talking to the marketplace because when you're talking to the ambient attribution agent, part of your currency is your own time of fixing a stuff.
Yeah, so that's more than a marketplace. That's like a labor pool or a trade pool or a what is that?
I'm not
Because
entirely sure, but yeah,
discovery of solutions is you just want technology, and issues is like my technology is not working. I want technology. Um, but ambient attribution is like I want to pay and be paid.
uh, let's think. Take a step back. I mean, there's three things for Darwinism, isn't there? There's inheritance, there's
Yep.
variation, and there's a hostile environment. You get those three together, boom.
Well, the fitness function.
Yeah, yeah. Hostile environment, fitness. It's some kind of test.
Yeah. A selector. A
Um,
selector.
yeah, yeah. And then you end up with Diplodocus, which didn't actually exist. Um, so, do we have those components? We've got inheritance in terms of
Stux.
forking,
But no,
stux.
inheritance is sorry, I said the wrong word. Inheritance is naps. So
Yes,
naps evolve. They are created and they evolve, and that is how you inherit the technology of the people that have come before.
right. So you've got inheritance and variation.
Yep.
And so,
Variation is the innovation cycle where people look at the stux and they look at the naps available and they create variations to attempt to solve problems.
right, and the fitness function.
The fitness
Um,
function is funny. It's a combination of the consumption of the people as well as the ambient attribution agent determining how much you get.
it also includes indicators if there are multiple deduplicable stocks. Um, that shows that a stock that meets as sorry an app that solves as many stocks as possible is more fit for what
Mm,
the
mm,
environment wants,
mm.
which is the hostile environment, which is basically the flip side of it. If you have a stock that nobody cares about
Mm-hmm.
but you, probably you're not going to get much traction
No,
on it. You might do.
no. So ambient attribution could be renamed as value.
Mm-hmm.
And then because ambient attribution is what gives the baseline value to the whole system, where you're like, what did this cost? What should it cost? What can I earn? Those are value discussions to be had with the ambient attribution agent, which is the price setter of the system.
Yeah.
All right, so it seems a while until we're ready to actually implement that, but I just wanted to point out that I've been saying ambient attribution assistant because I think that there is an ambient attribution agent out there, but the assistant is like your way to interface with that agent so that you're not the agent does the actual it's kind of it's a very blunt or a it's not a very chatty or multi-skilled agent. It gives very simple responses to things. And so
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't really have a chat with it to be friendly because it's got, an important role to play that doesn't involve chatting away all day long. But the ambient attribution assistant is there to help you understand what the agent is doing, why it responded like that, and it can submit requests on or pleas or petitions on your behalf to
Oh, I
the
see. That
agent.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So the agent is more like a system or a network that works about being fair, but the assistant is the one that brokers between the human and the agentic system that's assigning value.
Um, Similar to the stock market and your personal broker.
A stockbroker, yeah, just like that, just like that.
Yeah.
All right, well, so that sounds like we do those things and we're home. I'm worried for a stupid reason. I'm worried if like, what if we do all this and then it doesn't work out? Like we just find that it sucks to work with. But then I'm like, we don't have right now in mind any alternative that sounds even remotely as good. And so I think we owe it to ourselves to get to that point where this thing
Yeah,
works as
no,
we
this is
described.
there always comes down to that leap of faith, and our leap of faith has always been ambient attribution.
Right.
That's
Okay.
just like that's just baked.
Okay. Now I'm pretty confident I can get that going very quickly in SQL,
Mm-hmm.
and I can. We won't be stuck on SQL because I've learned how to translate between the blockchain world and the SQL world.
Yep. But also, we know that early doors doesn't make a hell of a difference. We're just missing an
No,
opportunity.
no. So long as we know that, well, I think it's actually a crucial opportunity because this new legislation from the states, like, we need to be able to demonstrate that this system is decentralized and is running using consensus,
Excellent point. That's an excellent point.
right?
Yeah,
And so we need a path off SQL in order to
yeah,
hit that.
we couldn't put ambient attribution on the system as is.
No, but we can
Because there would
definitely
be a
prototype
security.
it. We can prototype it, and we can use some features of it, and we can have like play money. Like we can start with just like, it's just we invented this internally to the system.
Yep. Yep.
Ambient attribution, brownie points, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That might even turn into, if we launched a play currency, then that might actually become the pre-sale or the.
Well, it would certainly give an indication of the dynamics of the system.
Right, like we could promise to honor it once we put the decentralized system live. That's like the starting wallet balances across the system.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Okay, can I skip on to something different now? Have you got time for that?
I do. I'm getting quite short of time, but yes, I do.
How short is short?
About another 15 minutes, something like that.
Oh yeah, that should be all I need. How would using the system we just described, I want to know how you would go about creating and running a DAO. And so what I'm trying to do here is we feel like we've got this home straight version.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm running through all the use cases we hoped to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Can this interface support us in those? Or do we need something different or something tweaked or something, whatever, right? And so one of those use cases is a DAO. Now, before I start that, I realized today that the way to define permissions for agents, or the way to define a company or an org, is actually to, if you're in the company, you gain access to the agents that the company runs and the repos that the company holds. And that's really the only difference. You get added to the company. Now you're able to see their repos, and you can chat with their agents, which hold confidential information or expert information or something like that, which includes tools and doing stuff like that. So that seems pretty easy to make an in-group and an out-group where you can be part of a clique or a team. You've got access to certain restricted resources in there, and you can go about your business. So that's how I think that model needs to work. So how do I run a DAO on here? To be more specific, how do I run an Avengers DAO on here? May I start?
Yeah.
I think I would set up some chats, a group chat that you could only come in if you had some of the NFT that the system required attached to your wallet, and you got auto kicked as soon as you lost those Ethereums from your wallet or failed to prove that your wallet was still in your control. Inside of that chat is where we put the restricted agents that we make, and you can talk to those agents anytime you like, directly or privately, as well as publicly. Plus, you can add them to group chats that include inner circle members, or you might even allow them to take part in groups that are with outer circle members as well. But basically, that group chat represents the membership group of, like, this is what in means. And then each of those agents has a knowledge base being built up in its repo, either with a shared repo that they all have access to and write to, or one that's inside the agent, so the repo is controlled by the agent. And that's where you build up these rules about what different facts are, what needs to happen here, there, and everywhere. And people chat and decisions get made by the bot, I think.
Where does the governance lie?
The governance seed lies in the initial prompting of the agent that controls the control rods, the agent that controls the top level repo of the DAO.
Right, that's the important bit.
Yeah.
So, what you just described all is fine. There needs to be an agent at the top that
Yeah.
holds the governance.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what the governance is,
Yeah.
and it does it without fear or favor.
Yeah, well, depending on how you prompted it, because you set it up with some seed things, some goals or motivations and rules. And the idea, I think, the best model is this adaptive system that has a set of facts that it's always curating and grinding over and fixing up, and then it's listening to everything everyone says, but it's not really necessarily changing anything internally until it sees something worthwhile. And that's how it decides when to act or not act.
Yeah, that makes sense. But the point of a DAO is, interesting enough, is not the disputed manner of it. It is the manner of the rules by which that DAO is going to be controlled, and those rules the top level rules need to be hosted somewhere in an agent.
In an agent, I think that actually a DAO is an agent ultimately, and then the agent can use its own file stores as the DAO's knowledge base, because the agent is in complete control of those.
Right. Yeah.
It can produce or be attached to child repositories that it controls in varying ways. It can produce or control agents that work on its behalf, that it manages the configuration of, and it can share repos with other people where it's not necessarily in charge, but it has access to them. Now,
I agree. Now, the question was, where does this fit in, or does it fit into this?
I think it's just an agent. You discover the DAO agent, and then you chat with it to program it. And then you fucking off you go. That's it, right?
It seems like it. I mean,
I mean, what the fuck? What else is it gonna be?
I mean, we've got a location for agents. We've got assistants which can be triggered. The agent can hold the governance rules. Those rules themselves could be anything, but would imply membership of the DAO. That membership, we've got NAPs that can control the verification of membership, voting rights, whatever you want. Seems like just another agent.
Yeah, that's good, man. It's starting to look like most solutions are just another agent, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's essentially just a DAO with an AI that controls the DAO, which agrees with the legislation that's just come out. It's not security, because hey, it's decentralized and everyone's on an even playing field, because nobody has a privileged insider place.
Yeah, that's good, because that's what we always wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like another agent. In which case, interesting enough, you could, um, through the same stuck loop, discovery of a nap could be discovery of a DAO who will do the work for you.
Yep.
Subcontract.
Yeah, yeah. It could be a solution. Could be an agent, or it could be a service. It could be a
Yeah,
person, even.
yeah. So you could like
I mean, a
have,
person is a piece of technology.
yeah, uh, and you're trying to get something done, saying, "Hey, I'd like cold fusion, please." Oh, I can't do that. Would you like to create stuck? Oh, but however, there's a whole bunch of guys here know a lot about plasma containment. There's a whole bunch of guys here know about electricity distribution, and these guys are DAOs. And
Yeah.
so you include them in, and then you're talking to the DAO. The DAO can then, if you have questions for it, place those questions amongst assistants, come back up and inform what you're trying to do. And the fact that you did that would generate a contribution record, and the attribution would follow in due course. And it seems to me that we don't need anything new to do that.
Okay. And so in this system, we would be the dream catcher, and when you go into Discover, you would find basically a DAO template agent that you could set up, configure, and whatever. But you'd also find instances of DAOs which were running live agents. So it's like, this is the Avenger DAO, this is the Die DAO,
Right.
this is
I
right,
mean,
and that's how you search for them. Yeah.
conceptually, how different would that be from the cycle that we said before? I can't do this. How am I going to do this? You go and look for things that have already
Right.
been built that does it, which
Right.
is existing DAOs, or it's like, no, this is I'm stuck. It's like, well, okay, well, what you really need to do is to create a DAO to do this for various reasons. You could do it yourself, or you could just leave it wobbling around in, Dreamcatcher space for someone else to do it. It seems like a DAO is a
Okay.
black box that just gets
So
stuff
is
done.
this enough interface to get us home, Maxwell?
I suspect so. Also, probably not, but at this point, um,
It gives us the $3. It gives us the $3
definitely
box.
good enough.
It gives us the $3 interface from Palantir, right?
Yes.
Do you know of any of the opportunities in the hopper that would not be solved by this system?
No. None that presented themselves couldn't be solved by a three-box system with naps. You could probably be solved without stocks, but only because
Right, but
stocks would be solved
stocks are
offline.
naturally involved in any technological endeavor anyway. They're just often
Yeah,
out of band, right? Like, it's just
exactly,
talking to
exactly.
people. Yeah, they're not managed. They're not mechanized.
Yeah, yeah, and certainly not automated. Um, but everything from OSINT to translation to matching medical programs with patients, all of it would be solved by this.
Right. So the quickest thing I got to get up is that innovation, the Stux thing, where we can generate Stux with context, and then I can start working on, okay, well, what's the most important thing to do next? Okay, probably this, probably that, blah blah blah. And all the while, we've got these bots finally here to help us as we work because of this interface that looks so cute. I'm like, how is this thing? Like, it's so nice and tidy, and yet it's like crazy powerful. Like, the intelligence of Grok 4 can speak to us through this interface and make us like the smartest fucking players on the field.
I know.
Time to go?
Oh, yes, it is. I was actually just thinking there, but it is time to go.
All right, bud.
Okay.
I'm going to get on it.
Wednesday. next.
Wednesday. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Cool.
Hi,
Nice.
bud.
All right, man.
Oh, this is scary. It's like the end.
Yeah, it is. It's like that 22-mile marker on a marathon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, mate.
Okay. All right. See you next
See you
time.
later. See you next time.
See you, man.